Alright guys, so welcome into week 10 of the NFL DFS season. Going to give you guys that quick recap of last week, and then we're actually going to go into the player pool. So let's get into that recap of last week. Alright guys, so let's get into last week's player pool. And I thought the previous week, the week before this one, I'm like, I don't think the player pool is going to get that much better than what it was, that week. And then this week came around, I'm like, oh, proven wrong. This week was a really solid player pool. There were some ownership leverages that we gained, which was pretty nice. I do want to mention we did end up on Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, Tyler Lockett, and Zach Ertz, which were all players that we touched on in this video on YouTube as well. Had it on the Patreon page as well. Just kind of wanted to mention that those players were actually included in this as well. The quarterbacks, I really ended up just playing a lot of Russell Wilson and then a lot of Brandon Allen and a lot of Derek Carr. Those were kind of all the safe plays. We knew that Russell Wilson had a lot of upside. I did end up with Matthew Stafford a little bit with that Kenny Galladay stacks, but for the most part, I ended up with Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett stacks, and also a little bit of Jacob Hollister mixed in there as well. Obviously, those stacks did pretty well. Thought I might actually take down a GPP with those stacks. Kind of missed a little bit. Had Delvin Cook in a couple of those builds, which was kind of unfortunate, but not too bad. And then Brandon Allen, I want to touch on this because it was pretty easy play, I thought. Price at 4.1K. You end up with like 17 DK points. Could stack him easily with Cortland Sutton. I do want to give a shout out to one of the YouTube comments we had on here. He was saying, I think Noah Fant, if you're going to be playing Brandon Allen, you might want to think about Noah Fant. He might be doing a lot of checkdowns. That was a good call right there. So maybe someone benefited from that as well. But overall, that stack, it was nice. Brandon Allen, Cortland Sutton, pretty easy stack to me. Brandon Allen was only 1% owned, so 9-to-5 Nation was really the only one benefiting from that. If there's one thing that I think I do better than any other DFS tout is value plays. Typically hit on those and do pretty well with those. Getting to the running backs here, I thought it was pretty easy last week. You're going to play CMC, you're going to play Cook, and you're going to play Jalen Samuels. If you want to pivot a little bit in GPPs, you could. And I thought those pivots were a little bit priced down. You could go with Aaron Jones, who I think he's going to be more of just like a GPP play each week. I did like Melvin Gordon and Devin Singletary. The problem was it was hard to choose between both of them. I did end up on a little bit more Melvin Gordon than Singletary. I don't get the price point on Melvin Gordon. We know he's a good player. I don't know. It's weird to me. But getting to the receivers, I ended up on a lot of Devontae Parker and a lot of Mike Williams. Those were two really easy plays to me. And then from there, it was kind of just doing GPP stacks. My only one mistake, I think you could say, was Zach Pascal. I didn't have as much ownership on him as I probably should have at his price point last week. He did look really impressive on film. I do want to mention that he did stand out quite a bit. Going into the tight ends was easy. Zach Ertz, Jack Doyle, and Jacob Hollister. All plays really hit. I mean, Zach Ertz was a pretty easy play, priced at 4.7K. We touched on that quite a bit in this video last week. Jack Doyle, once T.Y. Hilton was ruled out, just became a really easy play. We knew he'd be productive, especially at his price point. You couldn't really avoid him. And then Jacob Hollister, I mentioned it last week. I thought that was going to be a great stack. Great low-owned play as well. He had 19 DK points, kind of filling in for that Will Disley role. Those were that's another value play that I touched on. Many people don't do as well in value plays as I think I do. So I just there's one thing you guys can always take away. It's, the value plays are going to be there here. And then defensively, I thought if you wanted to fit in some of those studs, you'd have to pay down for the Redskins defense. I don't think that killed you, but pretty much with defense, I'm just trying to end up on a defense the way my lineup tells me to. So I always kind of pick them last and then pick the best one available after that.
Alright guys, so getting to the player pool for week 5, I do think if you want to pay up for Lamar Jackson, that does make for a safe and easy play. Obviously, they're going against the Bengals, who the Bengals have been beat up via the run game. Obviously, Lamar Jackson does run the ball quite a bit, so he should be safe. If you want to pay up for him with the the safety net that he has with his legs, that's fine with me. Jameis Winston's going to be an okay GPP stack as well. Don't mind stacking him with either Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or even O.J. Howard. The play I want to touch on that quarterback is going to be Drew Brees. He'll probably be my most owned quarterback on this slate just because he's safe, has an easy matchup, don't really hate the price point as well. We've seen in his first 2 starts this year, the ones that he's finished, over 20 DK points in both. Those are both easy matchups as well. This is going to be his easiest matchup of the year thus far. So I really like Drew Brees as a play. Let's just put him in there, and then I'll touch on some of the other quarterbacks as well. Let's load back up. All right, so Kyle Allen, I do want to touch on this one. I don't love it. But much like DJ Moore last week where I said, go out and grab him, go out and trade for him because of his schedule that's upcoming. Part of that reasoning was Green Bay's defense hasn't looked good. I do think that his price point is a little bit too cheap given the matchup. He'll probably score 2 touchdowns in this one, around 15, 17 DK points. Maybe if Christian McCaffrey can take, an extra one to the house, then obviously he'll really hit value. Just don't mind the price point of Kyle Allen. Definitely going to be a DFS option for me down the stretch, I believe. Ryan Tannehill is a play that I want to touch on as well. I do think a little bit of his production has been kind of fool's gold. I don't think he's 28 DK points here or 23 DK points, maybe 19, but he's definitely not played as well as his DraftKings points would suggest. I do think in this matchup going against the Chiefs, they're going to be down quite a bit, most likely. Tough to predict game script, but if we were trying to do that, we'd think that they'd be down. I do think that Ryan Tannehill will get around, 15 DK points at that price point. That's not going to kill you. And then Ryan Finley, I always try to find that value quarterback that we can get away with playing, and I really don't think that that's actually going to be Finley this week. He looked okay in preseason, nothing, spectacular. Like with Brandon Allen last week, I had seen him play in the preseason previously, and he looked really good. Ryan Finley, I'm not sure I can exactly, give him that vote of confidence. But the one thing we can give him is, AJ Green back, and I think that him and AJ Green have probably been played together quite a bit recently. AJ Green's been recovering from injury, so it's tough to believe that he was getting reps with the first team that much. That would mean that he was getting a lot of reps with Ryan Finley, so they should be on, they should have some chemistry there. Obviously, that whole offense is getting a little bit better each week. Overall, I'm just going to be rolling with Drew Brees where I can. Then from there, Christian McCaffrey, yes, he's questionable right now, but we're assuming he's going to play. And at the beginning of the year, I told you guys, the running backs that we want to target against Green Bay are going to be the Christian McCaffrey types. Now we finally actually get Christian McCaffrey against them, so that's just going to be easy play for me. And then it's going to be trying to decide, if you want to play Alvin Kamara, is he going to be 100%? It certainly seems that way, so I think I'd be fine with paying Alvin Kamara at 8.2K. That's not going to be too bad. We obviously saw what Latavius Murray had done the previous weeks without him, over 20 DK points in both of those ones. I don't mind Saquon Barkley this week at that price point. I just don't love it. If you want to play all three, the big three, you can. You're going to be locking in 60 DK points. Don't mind that. I would rather just go a little bit lower here. Do want to mention, if James Conner is out, Jalen Samuels is going to make for a good play. Marlon Mack against the Dolphins, if he gets 20 DK points, that's not going to surprise us. But the play I want to touch on is going to be Devin Singletary here. Obviously has a pretty decent matchup going against the Cleveland Browns. But the thing I want to touch on is that he finally got the touches last week. 20 rushes, 4 targets, 24 opportunities total, and he obviously did. he deserved them. He looked good last week. And the only week he's had under 10 DK points was on week 7 against the Dolphins, which was kind of unfortunate, but I like him as a play. Week 7 he was kind of still getting back healthy. Got a little bit more playing time. In week 8, he saw like 70% of the snaps. Then last week, he saw an even bigger increase of snaps last week. So I think Devin Singletary is going to be a good play at this price point. Obviously, if we knew he was going to get 24 opportunities again, we wouldn't even think about it at this price point. We would just lock and load him in there. I think he's going to get around 18 total opportunities. So I do like him at that price point. There is one other running back that I do want to touch on. And that's actually going to be one that you guys can probably guess because I've touched on him quite a bit. I told you guys in season-long leagues to go out and get him. That's Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones, it's pretty simple. He is their best back. He has looked good at film. Just a matter of him kind of putting it all together. And Bruce Arians finally said that he has. Let's look at the games where he has gotten over 15 opportunities. So week 1, he was right there. 14 opportunities, 10 DK points. Week 3, 14 rushes, 1 target, 15 opportunities total. 13 DK points. Week 4 against the Rams, who the Rams aren't too bad. 19 rushes, 1 target, 20 opportunities. My point here is that when he's gotten enough opportunities. He's produced over double-digit fantasy points. He's usually their best back. Bruce Arians says that they're going to commit to him. I'm not sure how much we can take out of that. But what I'm saying here is he makes for a great GPP play. We knew that was just a matter of time for him to take over that starting running back position, kind of just like Devin Singletary. Now these two both have, and I like them both, especially at their price points. All right, moving on to receiver here. So if we're going to be paying up for Drew Brees, then we just kind of have to pay up for Michael Thomas. The two go hand in hand. That could be the reason why I actually fade the top-end running backs a little bit. Michael Thomas has pretty much been a top-end running back with his production. Obviously, with Drew Brees there, it helps him a little bit more, has a little bit more touchdown upside equity there. I really just like this play. The targets have been there. The production's been there. The matchup's a good one. Let's just put him in there. Then from there, you could take a dart throw on any of these top-end receivers. Don't mind it. Cooper Kupp, obviously I like a lot, especially with Brandon Cooks out. His targets and production should just be, there each and every week. This isn't a horrible matchup. Yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers have played well. That's kind of just because they've been able to control the game flow and time of possession for other teams. I just like Cooper Kupp at this, not at the price point, but given his production throughout the year, Brandon Cooks out, he should be a lock to get around 18 DK points. But I'm not sure we actually have to pay up for him if we don't want to. There is one play. Well, I should mention, where is he at? Davante Adams. This is probably going to be his lowest price of the whole year. Don't really get why it's this low either. Going against the Panthers, they're not the best defensively. We saw his first game back. He had 11 targets. That's quite a bit. He had 11 DK points. He looked like his same old self being back. Obviously, we're playing Davante Adams. We're just taking advantage of that price point. Going lower now, I'd really like DJ Moore. I touched on it last week. I told you guys to trade for him if you could because his upcoming schedule was great. Last week we saw 7 receptions, 10 targets, 101 yards for 20 DK points. And he's pretty much just been consistent this whole year. Really hasn't let you down at all. Obviously, the one week he had 7.4. That was a little bit of a letdown. And then the week before last week going against San Francisco, 8.8 DK points. But we know San Francisco is a good defense, so it's not too surprising. I really like DJ Moore in this spot. DJ Moore's kind of been a sleeper of mine this whole year as well. So if you guys have been following 9 to 5 Nation for quite a bit, you already knew that. Devontae Parker obviously continues to be productive. They're going to be without Preston Williams, so he should get more targets, or right around the same at least. Just been really consistent, over 10 DK points for the last 5 weeks. I think he's priced too low, especially given the matchup as well. So you can definitely look for Devontae Parker once again. I still think Cole Beasley's a little bit priced too cheap. Going lower, there is one play that really stood out to me that I want to point out to you guys. That's going to be Russell Gage. So they said that Russell Gage was going to get the first opportunity to fill in for that Mohamed Sanu role, playing the slot, and he did that. 9 targets last week, or in week 8, 7 receptions for 58 yards, 12 DK points. Just at that price, but I really don't mind the play. Even the matchup's not too bad. Obviously, they should be throwing the ball quite a bit against New Orleans. You would imagine that they'd be down quite a bit. And, even if Matt Schaub's in there, you might get a little bit of a bump as well. The backup connection is something. But, 7 receptions, 9 targets last week, 58 yards. Even if he gets, 4 receptions, 6 targets, 60 yards, I don't think that's too hard to imagine. All right, moving on to tight ends here. So if you do want to pay up for Travis Kelce, I think you can do that. Austin Hooper is a play that I don't mind, especially at that price point. If you think what he's done this year is not a fluke, if you do think it's a fluke, don't play him. But obviously that price point is really nice for his production. Obviously, if there's a receiver there that had been averaging 18.6 DK points per game, I don't even think we would think about it. I would just put him in there. Going down a little bit, I do still really like Jack Doyle as a play, especially with T.Y. Hilton out. He scored over 10 DK points in each of the last 2 games. The previous 2 before that, 5 DK points. So he's not killing you. And obviously, I do think he'll get a little bit more involved in the passing game with T.Y. Hilton out. O.J. Howard's a play that I don't mind as well. I don't know. It's definitely a GPP play because we can't exactly trust it, but he is going against Arizona, who has been the worst against tight ends this year. So obviously we don't really mind that. Maybe more of a stack, much like Jacob Hollister last week, where you'd want to stack him with Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett. This helps you get exposure to that. Mike Gesicki is a tight end play that I really do like as well, especially with Preston Williams out. We could project, Mike Gesicki to get a few more targets in the passing game. He's priced at only 3.1K, coming off of his best game of the year, and he has kind of been trending upwards towards having a good week. 8.1 DK points in week 6 and week 7. Really don't mind the play. Getting into defense now. Once again, I always say, play the defense that you just end up on and choose the best one from there. The one I think I'll probably end up on quite a bit, though, is going to be the Rams. I really like the Rams. Ever since they traded for Jalen Ramsey, they've gotten a lot better. Haven't really been giving up points, and they've been really able to stop defenses. Now, they haven't really played anyone good, but they're also going against Mason Rudolph this week, who hasn't looked great either. We're going a little bit lower. There are a couple value defenses down here. You got the Jets going against Daniel Jones, who has been a turnover machine. Don't love it, but the Jets haven't went negative this year. They've had a couple of games where they've scored DK points. Don't love it. You could go with the Dolphins going against what could be Brian Hoyer, and if that's going to happen, I don't mind that play as well. The Dolphins have looked better defensively kind of the last 3 weeks. And then the Cardinals going against Jameis Winston. We know Jameis Winston can be turnover prone. If we get bad Jameis Winston in this game, obviously the Cardinals could really go off defensively. That's kind of what I'm looking at for defense. Kind of just pay the one that you end up on.